G'day and welcome to WTF. I'm Alan Stevens and I'm here with Angela Heise and Dr. Chris Willems. And today we're going to talk about constructive criticism. And the question is it constructive or is it just criticism? So, Angela, you were talking about a situation that you've recently had. Is that right?
Oh, I have situations about that all the time because when you work in leadership development, the one thing that people don't know is how to give feedback. And the one thing that I start with is there is no constructive criticism. Criticism is an opinion and it's never constructive or very rarely because criticism is an opinion about something that focuses on the negative. So it's not really constructive is an anathema. It just doesn't work. You can't put it together.
That's it. The term becomes an oxymoron,
Feedback
doesn't
is
it?
feedback.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, an oxymoron, did you say, Alan?
Yeah, very much an oxymoron. We got two words mean completely separate things and don't make sense when you put them together, like military intelligence, that sort of thing.
Like what intelligence?
That's going off in another tangent there again. Didn't take me long, did it? But no, we see it on social media all the time, people jumping in and telling people how to actually fix a problem, for instance. Or at work, somebody coming along and telling you what you should be doing, and they call it constructive criticism. But really, how many people walk away feeling that they've actually been lifted up in that process? How are they being guided to actually learn something new?
Actually, when Angela was talking, what occurred to me was, my theatrical background. When you're directing a show, giving notes to performers after a rehearsal, that's kind of, I suppose, the most distilled version of constructive criticism, because you have to be sensitive to the performer.
Scrap that expression. Feedback.
Feedback, sorry. Well, they're called notes. In theatre, they're called notes. And they have to be constructive, otherwise you're dealing with sensitive people.
Absolutely.
For the sake of the show, you have to maybe tweak a bit of timing or something, or a bit of business, a bit of stage business to make the show flow better. So there are really good reasons to do it that the performer can't necessarily see from the inside, but as the director you can see it from the outside, because that's your job to make those determinations and to make the stagecraft work. So that's a very particular kind of feedback, constructive criticism, notes, whatever you want to call it.
Scrap that expression. You keep using it. Put it away.
What, the constructive criticism?
Yeah, no, take that out of your vocabulary.
It's not criticism, you're right. It's not criticism at all. It's the adjustment of a bit of business. It doesn't work quite as well if you change. It works better if you change the timing a bit or whatever. So it's feedback. And the outcome is to make the whole better than the sum of the.
But I think, as Dr. Chris has just pointed out, we use these terms all the time, but they're not accurate. Now, how many times we try and change what we're doing and saying, we'll talk about feedback, but we end up using that term again because it's been indoctrinated into us all the way through. We were told it was constructive, but nobody's ever felt that way when that advice has been given to them. They feel like they're being corrected for something that they've done wrong.
Yeah, because generally when you give somebody constructive feedback, it comes with a sentence, may I give you some, or can I, which is always my favorite sentence construction. Can I take the garbage down? I don't know, can you? Have you done it before? But may I give you some constructive feedback? And the person says yes, and then something comes out that's completely unfiltered, and it's just an opinion. And it's generally not something that's constructive for the future, as in, how about next time when you do this, give this a go. It is, I really didn't like when you did that. That's the constructive criticism, which is just an opinion. It's not not anywhere near feedback.
Well, if we go back just momentarily to the theatre analogy, it might be that a particular piece of comedy business isn't quite working, and the constructive feedback version of dealing with that is, if you hold that moment a little bit longer for another 2 beats, then it will work better. I mean, that's a specific kind of bit of feedback that might be a solution to at least try the next time to see if that works better, rather than just saying, no, that moment doesn't work, it's crap.
Okay, now I've got a point. If I may, Alan, if I just may, because before we lose that, maybe people in the arts are so sensitive and they just have all of these, where is it? drama queen tiaras, right? Because they get their feedback, they get their notes right after they have just stretched into an unbelievable thing. You know, they stand in front of people and they do this. I've done lots of work with people on stage fright. And the one thing that I teach for especially younger people who are still, you know, who are still dependent on their parents' opinion and all of that, I'd say to them, when you get off stage and they come and they say, hey, I've got, you know, you should have, and why didn't you? Tell people to stop talking. And the only thing you want to hear at that point is something they did well. And not, and anything that is constructive feedback, that is, how can I do this better next time? You tell me tomorrow when I've come off my adrenaline high and all of that, because I don't want to hear that right now. Right now, I just want to hear what I did well.
And
I've had parents come to me and complain that I'm teaching their children to speak up for themselves. And I'm like, yep.
And we need to do that. See, in the case of where somebody's performed really well, their timing and everything for them, what they've done is really brilliant. Yeah, be acknowledged for that. And when you do the following day, when you do an assessment of the whole show, of all the different parts that they came together, you say, well, right, you know, because of this part of the presentation or the lighting or something else, if we change this slightly this way, this is how we can improve it again. So you've been acknowledged for what you've done well, and then you're doing a post-mortem of it, so to speak, the next day, an assessment of how can we make it even better again. So it was brilliant, but we can make it even more brilliant. So that then becomes constructive.
Feedback works really, really well. That kind of feedback of
now, Dr. Chris, you've got to do something about that.
Sorry, I've buggered up.
Here's some constructive criticism for you. Why the heck is this not working? Why haven't you fixed that yet?
Well, I'll change my entire environment so it'll work better.
No, it's the timing that matters so much. You know, the whole thing of, you know, if you give somebody constructive feedback right after they've done something, it's not going to land particularly well, because even if they did it badly and they know it, it's still going to land badly.
They don't need to be reminded.
And undermine self-esteem. But people don't get that. They just want to get it off their chest. It's not about the other person. It's just, I've noticed, so let me help you.
Well, Angela, you're right. It's an opinion, and that opinion that you offer may not be the correct one. There may be a whole bunch of reasons why that opinion, implementing that, doesn't work. That have already been tried or whatever. So basically, you tell them to bugger off and mind their own beeswax. But if it's offered in a generous and positive way, then it has, you know, it can be, and timing's absolutely right. At the end of a rehearsal, you have to do it then, because if you leave it till the next day, it's going to, that moment is going to be forgotten.
No, it won't. You write it down and you give it to them then. That's the point.
I know. Discuss it the next day, but acknowledge, as Angela said, acknowledge what they've done, show them how they've done it really well, and then talk about the bigger production, how working together we can do things even better again. So it becomes constructive in that way. But to jump in really quickly and say, oh, you know, should have been done this way, that's where the problem comes in.
I did a lot of work in radio, and we've actually practiced this, because when they go, you know, they do a show, and in between, during the breaks, the producer often gives notes. And what we changed was that they would work on certain things, and they had things to pay attention to at the beginning of the show, which came out of the show from the day before. So yesterday you did this, how about this time, today you notice this, and you work on that. And they would never get more than one or two things. And then during the breaks, it would get reinforced. If it didn't work, then they could do it immediately differently. And if it worked well, they went, yes, keep going, keep doing what you want to do, what you were doing. And then how about you do this time came at the briefing the next day. And it made all the difference. People showed up more. There was reduced stress. There were all sorts of wonderful side effects.
Well, indeed. And the adrenaline that you mentioned before, that happens when you're performing. The last thing you want straight after that is someone offering their opinion about what you've done, unless that was brilliant, thank you very much.
It comes down to the fact of what's more important in this, where we're talking about shows. Is it the show, or is it the actors on stage, the performers? If they're at their peak happiness and everything else, they're going to perform better. the next show is going to be better again. But if we try and correct them right up front and say, right, this is what you should have been doing, etc., you've taken that moment away from them, you deflated them. So the next day they come in, they've already been thinking about it, dwelling on it overnight and everything else. And that goes into their neurology, so that when they come back and they perform next time, they're not at their peak.
Yeah, no, that's right.
So the show then gets ruined, the next show gets ruined because of it. But we created that not through their efforts the day before, but through our intervention and trying to give that criticism on that day.
Well, and it's not just, you know, theatre shows, it's business presentations as well. If we talk about business and business communication,
everything.
All kinds of presentations.
I mean, it's like, imagine you're invited for dinner and somebody says, "Oh, that could have really benefited from more salt." You know, that's, you know, there's a different way of asking for things and giving feedback. But we do this. We just feel that we have an entitlement, and we see this on social media again all the time. People have opinions about everything, but nobody knows how to do it in an encouraging way.
Yep.
Well, it's all opinion-based, really, isn't it? Social media, it's all opinion-based, and people listening to accepting opinions that align with their own, and that's how people don't learn anything new.
That's right.
Forcing the same old crap.
So this is why all those people get so upset about. Oh, they're really happy that people join on their side, because it all comes back to their emotions. They want to make the comments, but they don't want to be criticised for the comments they make.
Yeah,
that's right. And so. But as it always comes back to, as we said before, it's all about the respect. It's how we treat people, think about them first, talk to them, listen to them to understand, and then apply ourselves in the right way. So if we're able to do that, as we say, we build bridges of respect, one conversation at a time.
Absolutely.
So again, thank you very much, Angela, for being here, and Dr. Christian, and we'll see you everybody on the next WTF. Thank you.